Hi, I'm Randy Brooks, and at 73, I have years of experience in 3 areas I think will help me be an effective board member. First, I'm a longtime member. I bought a lot in 2000 and played about 40 rounds of golf a year for 15 years. I made a lot of friends over those years and gained a good understanding of what it would be like to live in this community. So in 2017, when Tina and I retired, it was a slam dunk to move here. Since moving, we've been very active. Our home was on the home tour the first year. We did 2 online auctions for the community that benefited the Long Cove Fund to the tune of $30,000. We play golf regularly, enjoy dining, parties, and trips. All of this has expanded my array of friends and acquaintances in the community. I've always said that no one got here by accident. This is a group of successful, brilliant, and opinionated people, a dynamic community, and we love it. The second area is my background in market research. My job was to bring data to bear on important decisions our clients were making. A good illustration of how this skill could benefit the Long Cove Club is the real estate analysis I did last year. Some people thought that Long Cove was no longer viable for home buyers today because of our bundled cost and transfer fees, a perfectly reasonable opinion. It's a researchable hypothesis, however, and I needed data. So I got 15 years of MLS data for Hilton Head and surrounding communities. It turned out that all prices in Hilton Head and in the surrounding communities were depressed for a simple reason. The supply of homes for sale greatly outpaced the demand, and that has to cause prices to fall. Data showed that Long Cove was actually doing better than some of the surrounding communities. I presented these findings in town hall meetings in March, and many members thanked me afterwards because they said they understood the issue better. The third thing is that Long Cove, while it's our club and our home and community, is also a business with $600 million of real estate and an $8 million operating budget. I'm a ground floor businessman. In 1988, I founded a firm by myself that today has 160 professionals. In the early years, the CEO is the receptionist, the janitor, the analyst. I had to run out and buy supplies. I had to establish relationships with a lawyer, an accountant, a bank, and others. I think my experiences in running my business are relevant to our business. My promise to you, if elected, is I will seek data to inform decisions. I'll do analyses that are fair without regard to any personal preferences. I'll make sure that the costs seem acceptable to the community at large, and I'll work hard to communicate the findings clearly. In closing, I'm eager to work on behalf of our community, and I respectfully ask you for your support.
Hello. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Fred Delgadio. For those of you I have met and don't recognize me without my mask on, my name is Fred Delgadio. I'd like to start this video with a short story. A story about 2 men on vacation. They're up in the woods, middle of the night in their tent asleep, and they hear a noise outside the tent. And they quickly realize that noise is a bear, and the bear is either very hungry or very angry, or maybe both. First man jumps up, starts to run out of the tent. Second man is sitting on the ground, and the first man turns around and looks at him and goes, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm putting on my shoes, my running shoes." First man says to the second man, "Why are you putting on running shoes? You can't run faster than a bear." Second man says, "Don't need to run faster than a bear, just need to run faster than you." Well, why do I tell that story? I've told that story a lot in my career. I like to think that I'm like the second man in my business experiences, in the board experiences that I have. Basically, you want to get all the information, gather the information, understand the issues, understand the problem, make a decision, and then once you make that decision, run like heck to make it happen. Hopefully you've had a chance to read my position paper. I'm going to spend just a minute or 2 more in this video summarizing that for you. My wife Terry and I grew up and lived most of our lives in New York. However, we have been coming to Hilton Head since the mid-1990s. We actually have owned 2 homes across the street in Palmetto Dunes, both in Leamington, that we used as second homes. And we've also been coming to Long Cove as guests pretty frequently since around the year 2000, playing golf mostly, meeting the members, meeting the employees. It's a wonderful place. We're now full-time homeowners at Long Cove since 2018. It was an easy decision to move here, having experienced it as often as we did from the year 2000, as I mentioned. I fully support the Long Cove vision and mission statements, and in fact, they were critical in our decision to move here full-time versus the other options that were available to us. I have over 20 years experience serving on both country club boards as well as homeowners associations, and I believe I've been successful in representing the members' interests in those circumstances. I'm honored to be considered for Long Cove's board, and I ask for your vote while pledging to serve your interests. Little bit about my business background. Again, you can see it in the position paper, so I'm going to be as brief as I can be. I retired in 2014. Having said that, I'm lucky I remembered this morning how to tie my tie. I spent 38 years in my career alternating between corporate and technology roles, corporate and entrepreneurial roles in technology. My longest tenure in corporate was Goldman Sachs. I ran a big piece of their technology infrastructure for a little over 7 years, where I had about 350 people and a budget of over $300 million that I was responsible for. The most fun I ever had and the hardest I ever worked was a little company called Millennia 3. It was a startup. I was president and COO. I started that company with a couple of friends of mine. There were 5 of us all together. We grew that company to 230 people, and we sold it to Dell EMC. We had a good technology consulting practice going there. And I'll just mention one more job. It was my last corporate role. It was a company called Sector. Sector was owned by the New York Stock Exchange, the American Stock Exchange. I was president and CEO of that company. We had all 700 Wall Street broker-dealers as clients. I actually reported to the president of the New York Stock Exchange and the president of the American Stock Exchange in that role. I have, as I mentioned earlier, over 20 years experience, both board and homeowners association. I spent 9 years on the board at Nassau Country Club up in New York. I was privileged to serve as a director for 2 years, secretary for 2 years, treasurer for 2 years, vice president for only a couple of months, president for almost 3 years. So I was president of Nassau Country Club. It's a terrific place. I also was an original board member of South Shore Townhomes, which are a group of townhomes across the street in Palmetto Dunes, Leamington. I served on that board as an original board member as secretary and treasurer for 8 years until we sold that house. I also was an original board member on a homeowners association in Utah, in Park City, Utah, Residence Club at Deer Valley. I served 4 years as secretary there. And my experiences on those boards included heading and also participating in a number of committees, and I'm going to read this list real quick. So forgive me for looking down as much as I will here. Audit Committee, Compensation Committee, Finance Committee, Golf and Greens Committee, Governance Committee, Grievance Committee, House Committee, Marketing Committee, Technology Committee, also a bunch of ad hoc committees doing senior employee searches for general managers, chefs, golf and greenhead. Some major accomplishments while I was at Nassau Country Club. I co-chaired the golf course renovation project. This is a project very similar to what we just did here in Long Cove 2-3 years ago. It was a $2 million project to regrass the course and to build USGA spec greens. I did that working with the Tom Fazio Group and McDonald & Sons, and importantly, it was on time and on budget, and within 3 years, we had the best greens in New York. I led the effort to justify and install an indoor tennis facility. As you all know, you can't play tennis outside in New York in the wintertime. So this $700,000 project was justified and installed, and we now have 4 courts covered in the wintertime. I also spent a bunch of time reducing expenses while negating any negative impact to service and quality. And again, the position paper details some of this stuff, so please take a look. So in my 20 years of club and homeowners association board experience, including the 3 years as president of Nassau Country Club, I've gained insights into what works and what doesn't work. There's always room for improvement, as nothing's ever perfect. The key is to strive for perfection while only accepting excellence. Please contact me with any questions, comments you may have. I ask for your vote, and if elected, I promise to serve to the best of my abilities. And finally, I believe every video should have a visual aid. So here's mine. I bought this special. Let me make sure I do this the right way. If you vote for me, if you don't vote for me. So, please vote for me. Thanks for your time.
Hi, my name is Vic Feigenbaum, and thank you for tuning in to watch my video today. I'm supposed to tell you a little bit about myself, why I would be a good board member, and what my thoughts are concerning the Long Cove mission statement. So stick with me as I do my best to inform you. I was born and raised in West Hartford, Connecticut. I received my economics degree from Trinity College in Connecticut and received my law degree with high honors from Western New England College School of Law. I have been married to my lovely wife Judy for over 42 years, and we have a wonderful family made up of one daughter, one son-in-law, and 4 beautiful grandchildren. We are proud to have been Long Cove members for 8.5 years and full-time residents for 5 years. My law practice in West Hartford concentrated on commercial law. I practiced in the realm of both litigation and transactional matters, which most attorneys in that field do not do. But I felt it was vitally important to know and understand that area of the law completely from the inside out. I quickly discovered that there were 2 ways to practice, using a rational process or an emotional one. Fortunately, my mentors in the law shied away from a loud and emotional type of practice and steered me to what I felt was comfortable and right for me, using logic instead of emotion to deal with my clients, my colleagues, my opponents, and the courts. That has colored my life outside of the law also, in my community involvement and personal relationships. I coached youth soccer for over a decade in West Hartford. I served on the Board of Trustees for many years at the Congregation Beth Israel, a congregation of 1,500 families in West Hartford, ultimately serving as its president from 2001 through 2003. My presidency enjoyed a great deal of success, and I came in with a balanced budget both years in dealing with an annual multi-million-dollar budget. I've also served for the past 19 years as co-trustee for the Hollander Funds, a vital and important charitable foundation in central Connecticut. Here at Long Cove, I not only pitched in, as so many of us did, with our member cleanup crews after Hurricane Matthew in 2016, but I assisted the club with helping to maximize our insurance proceeds that we ultimately received from our insurance carriers after the storm. I have played a very active role in the Long Range Planning Committee for the past 3 years, during which time we helped the board formulate a strategic plan for Long Cove going forward for the next 5 years. After the strategic plan was adopted by the board, I have worked to bring structure to the goals of the plan. In particular, the ongoing planning and research for a community and sports center for our community, which has included visiting and touring almost every private community within a 50-mile radius to gather information as to whether a community sports and fitness center is right for Long Cove amid the lessons learned at those other communities. I have also contacted the 100 top residential golf communities in the country per Golf Week magazine to inquire and learn about the success of the many amenities that they offer to their residents in order to sharpen our focus at Long Cove as we look to the future. I was asked to put my name in for consideration as a board candidate, and I did so because I believe we all have an obligation to serve our community at one point or another. I believe I have strong skills carried over from how I have pursued my career and lived my life, with a belief in dispute resolution using patience, common sense, and perspective. In a lifetime of being a problem solver, I have always endeavored to listen to those around me in striving to make rational decisions with as little drama as possible while being as thorough as possible. It is also important to realize that board members do not operate in a vacuum. Life happens, emergencies and short-term crises have to be handled quickly, calmly, and rationally, as any board member here at Long Cove knows from personal experience, and I know from my board experiences and also time spent counseling many boards during my legal career. I have had clients call me with all sorts of emergencies, both during office hours and after, even during family vacations. I pride myself on quickly being able to size up the crisis and work with those around me to arrive at a logical conclusion in as little time as possible when the occasion calls for a quick and proper resolution. I have compiled a list of what I found are the most important qualities that make up a great board member. There is passion, a deep interest in the mission of your organization. There is vision and leadership, the ability to see the big picture, and the courage to set direction to achieve the organization's mission. There is stewardship, the integrity to serve the interest and pursue the goals of your organization. There is knowledge, a knowledge of your constituents and operations. There is diligence, a dedication and commitment to fulfilling your organization's goals. And there is collegiality, the possessing of a sincere and respectful attitude toward colleagues and their views. If elected, you can be sure that I would do my utmost to fulfill each one of those key attributes as a board member. When all of us bought into Long Cove, we joined a club with a very clear and definitive vision and mission statement, and we all invested into that statement along with our properties. It begins with the sentence, Long Cove Club will continue to progress as one of the outstanding private, secure, residential communities, and continues by stating that the club serves its members through an unwavering commitment to excellence, attention to detail, and continuous improvement. Without question, it was the vision of past members to not have Long Cove wither and die on the vine through inactivity, but to move ever forward to build and grow stronger over time. Long Cove Club is like any other business. You either move forward or you go backward. You never stand still. While we must also, and I quote from the mission statement, implement and adhere to sound financial management and governance principles, all of which are grounded in integrity. I would be honored to work for all of us in the community that we love living in that features world-class golf, tennis, pickleball, boating, and beauty, but above all, world-class people with a world-class staff and management to match. I would also like to send a shout out to our many off-site members to let you know that I feel strongly that board members represent you also and that your voices need to be heard and your concerns addressed. I believe strongly that pursuant to our mission statement, we need to always look to constantly improve our community, but only within the confines of a sensible and a prudent budget. A community is like an individual house. If you neglect it, then before you know it, you are suddenly left with a house in disrepair. And we need to have our house in strong condition in order to be able to attract a new generation of potential buyers with their particular wants and desires. I would like to see every one of us taking advantage of both old and new amenities alike to heighten our enjoyment during the time that we all plan on spending here as active members, and thereafter to benefit from maximum appreciation on our real estate values when we eventually sell. A win-win for all, while always keeping a sharp eye on the bottom line. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts with you, and thank you for taking the time to make a careful, considerate choice for your board membership.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeffrey HEDDEN. I live here with my family at Long Cove, my wife Nicole. I have a son Trip, who you may have seen scootering down Long Cove Drive with his golf clubs on the back of his scooter heading to the range, and my little daughter Harper. We love it here at Long Cove. We've been full-time residents since 2018. How I found Long Cove. Both my wife and I grew up in Connecticut, and we were both part of golf communities and golf families. So when we made our decision to come south after selling our business, we wanted to find that special golf community where we could feel safe and secure and have our family grow up, run into the range, where the members, both young and old, embraced the kids, watched out for the kids, and we could feel safe about that. And so we lived at a couple of different communities here on Hilton Head just to kind of search out the landscape, and it was a very easy choice. I have to give a shout out to one of my good friends and one of my first friends, the Gavin family. My first playing experience here at Long Cove was one of the member guests with Dr. Gavin. And that's where I really got a flavor of the feel of Long Cove and how special this community really is. And so that's one of the reasons why I feel so blessed to be here, which is also one of the reasons why I want to join and run for some committees and certainly the board of directors. It's one way for me to be able to give back what's been so graciously given to us. And so why I love Long Cove. Long Cove to me has got an unbelievable value in its membership. the pristine golf course that we play, the clubhouse facilities, all the amenities. We're big boating enthusiasts as well, so we just love just popping down to the boat and taking off up and down the creek and do a little fishing, and most recently we've been doing some shrimping. So that's another real big key for us, is that it's, again, a very safe and secure, but it also has a lot of different things to do. So we love Long Cove for that reason. As I said earlier, both my wife and I grew up in golf families and golf communities, and that was one of the things that we wanted to search out. And we got in early and started to read the vision statement. And so as a board candidate, you know, my main goal would be to continue to further and make sure that that vision statement stays a reality and stays a daily part of our lives here at Long Cove. I believe my 30 plus years in business, I've been able to golf competitively all over the United States at some of the finest golf courses. I believe those two things put together will allow me to offer the club and any decisions that may come through the board just a real fine example of what a golf community should be like in a golf course. Our vision statement does say that our course is anchored by a nationally acclaimed golf club. That's going to be one of my main focuses, is to make sure that that stays at the top of the list as far as what our community is all about. And then the service to the members. It also states in there that we're going to give exceptional high quality service to all our members on a daily basis. Those are two things that are very, very important to me when I was picking the community that I wanted to be a part of and also raise my family in. So those two things are going to be very, very important to me, to make sure that they stay a forefront of the vision and the board of directors here at Long Cove. And if elected, my primary focus is going to be just that, to make sure that we maintain a pristine golf course, we maintain a high quality, a level of service right from the gate all the way to the clubhouse, to all of our members. And the decision making is going to be very difficult. The board of directors have very difficult decisions financially and physically to make on a regular basis. So again, I believe that some of my experiences over my career, both in golf and in business, are going to be able to help me be best suited to help the club move in that progressive forward direction, to make sure that not only our club stays where it is today and builds on what has been already done, but also the future. We have to be thinking about what's going on over the next 5 or 10 years as some members age out and new members come in. What are we going to be about? What are we going to look like to prospective families that want to raise their family just like I do in a wonderful, high quality golf community? So it's going to be very important that the decisions that the board makes from today on going forward the next 3, 4, 5 years, keep that in mind. And so that's going to be a big goal of mine, to make sure that those standards stay met and the decisions that are made by the board follow that vision statement of Long Cove community. Thanks again for this honor, and I appreciate it. Have a nice day.
My name is Peggy IANOALE, and I'm running for the board. You can find my biography, my priorities, my education on the statement that we gave to the board, the resume and priority statement. But I'm running for the board because I feel it's important for all of us to volunteer our time to help our community remain a special place. I'm also running because my business career has given me the skills necessary to be a contributing member of the board. My husband Ron and I moved to Long Cove Club in November of 2015. Since that time, I have participated in the biking club. I co-chaired it. I am also the representative for the 9-hole ladies golfers. I chaired the computer club of the Long Cove Cultural Association, and I've worked on the home tour for both 2018 and 2020. In addition, I was a member of the Community Services Committee of the board for 3 years, and I also was on the 2020 nominating committee. My vision for the Long Cove Club board is that it is representative of all members, fiscally sound, and aware of the current issues facing our community. In line with my vision for the board, there are 2 of the projects that were included in the strategic plan approved by the membership that I feel are more important now than ever. The first is the design and installation of the leisure path. The realities of living in a pandemic have driven us all outside. On any day, you can find walkers and bikers and joggers dodging cars and trucks on Long Cove Drive. It is time for us to move forward with phase 1 of that plan. I know there's controversy about encroachment on individual properties, but phase 1 does not raise that issue. Once that is completed, any further expansion of the plan would require additional meetings and membership approval. The second item that I think is important right now is to repurpose the club for more versatile membership use. At any given time now, with the creation of the Long Cove Cultural Club, it's very hard to find space in the building. I think we need a dedicated area that would house yoga and tai chi, painting, art, tap dancing, movie night, the computer instruction club, just to name a few. There are other items in the strategic plan that the board will pursue in the future, but these two are projects that I feel are important to us right now. But being a board member is not just about the plans and projects I think are important. During my career as a business administrator, I worked with a number of municipal governing bodies that had very large budgets. My financial skills were critical to my success in these jobs. My skills support my vision of a fiscally sound board. Aside from my financial experience, what I want to talk about today is how my experience as a board member has given me a unique understanding of what makes a high-functioning board. In order to create a board that is representative of all members, fiscally sound and aware of the current issues facing our community, I believe there are 4 components of successful boards. Number 1, boards must focus on the big picture. The vision and mission statements and the strategic plan approved by the membership are the roadmap that the board must follow. We must keep our priorities guided by these statements. Number 2, boards must work closely with administration, follow established policy, and maintain strict risk management policies. One example is the adoption of the Path Forward Readiness Plan for COVID-19, which was implemented by the administration with the full support of the board. This policy has allowed us to golf, dine, and socialize much more freely than other communities. Number 3, boards must speak in one voice and board members must not have personal agendas. I know there will be disagreements and I know that 9 members do not always think alike. However, once the board has voted, I will never second-guess a decision approved by the majority of the board. I also will never make personal promises for action. And finally, boards must keep a sense of perspective. This is an HOA. This is not Microsoft. Unfortunately, sometimes when the stakes are smaller, the politics are pettier. I will always encourage an open forum for discussion, but I will never participate in any negative activity directed toward an administrator, a board member, or a community member. I'm speaking to you today by video because COVID-19 has restricted our freedom to meet in groups as well as to see our friends and family. Right now, our number 1 priority is to stay safe and healthy and to help our friends and neighbors stay the same. I will do anything I can as a board member to support that effort. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to email or call me.